What mad sort of person did I marry? Look at him running naked along the beach, and it's freezing.
On this episode of Chasing Spring.
This is the side of it, looks good.
My name is Jeremy Norman. I'm the principal owner of Soho Gym. And before that, I started the world-famous Heaven nightclub.
I'm Derek Frost, and professionally I used to be an interior designer.
I met Derek when he was 25 and I was 29, and we've been together ever since. I heard on the radio someone saying that spring travels up through Britain at the pace of a walking man. And I thought that was an intensely romantic notion.
Every summer, Derek and Jeremy charter Killarney, an 80-foot twin-screw diesel motor yacht. Usually, they cruise the Mediterranean. This journey will be different. They'll start at the very tip of England, which is the Scilly Isles, and from there, they'll go up the Bristol Channel to South Wales. And from South Wales, right around the coast of Wales, across the Irish Sea to Northern Ireland. Then, up the coast of Northern Ireland, right to the very top, to Reitlin Island, and then across to the Mull of Kintyre. They'll then proceed up the Inner Hebrides to Ullapool, taking in all the famous islands, and then from Ullapool to the Outer Hebrides, and from there on to St Kilda. Hopefully, if we make it. Previously on Chasing Spring.
I expect the conditions to be not much different than Grassholm, the island when we were there off that.
Yeah.
That's what I expect the conditions to be like.
So we better batten down the boat.
Yes, for sure.
Braving rough waters, they crossed the Minch to the Isle of Harris, where they visited the stones of Callanish.
This piece of Louisian gneiss is one of the oldest rocks known to man. And here it is, having been placed as a standing stone, and it's remained in situ for 5,000 years. It's quite a thought, really.
We rejoin Killarney at Loch Maddie, where the inclement weather has for days now impeded any further progress.
It's a little blowy. I mean, I'm getting anything constant at about 4-6, but I'm getting gusts of 38 knots.
What, here?
Which is going into a gale 8, pretty much. It's come round from the southwest to the south. You can't really see out there at the moment because the rain come down, but I had a peek out this morning with the binoculars, and we've got a heavy sea running down there.
Down the Minch.
Down the Minch, yeah, from the south. I mean, we were planning on our 30-mile passage today,
Yeah.
bang into it. If it was southwest, we would have been protected by southeast. But it's southerly, and it is just running through the Minch, piling through the Minch.
It's a really, really big sea.
It's a big sea out there, yeah.
Did you expect that to happen? Because we were
No.
talking about southwesterlies.
No, I didn't. It says now, the latest forecast I have, which I've got this morning at 7:30, is southwesterly 6 to 7, becoming cyclonic, so south-southeast, and staying the same. As soon as it does come through,
You're out there.
we're out there. We might only get 2 days grace before it comes around again.
Absolutely.
We can't mess around.
Is that the nature of the weather up here? That it's very, very changeable.
As fast as it comes in, it can move away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if we said no, Tim, if we were idiot people and we said, look, we're meeting our friends and so we need to be down there, what would we find? What would happen?
Right. If we went out there into it, as soon as we cleared the point there, the entrance to the lock, you'd have massive seas. You'd probably have around about a foot of water running down the deck. What Killarney would do, as she has done an instance before when I've been caught out in those conditions, is she would bury her nose, she would scoop up the water and chuck it over the length of the vessel and down onto the aft deck. As I said, you'd have probably not a foot, you'd probably have about 10 inches. The thing is, something is not dangerous if nothing goes wrong. But for example, a domino effect of circumstance. Let's say the window did go through. One of the windows went through. Right. The electronics got fried. Stabilizers. It goes on to like a domino effect. That happens, and as a result, that happens, and as a result, that happens.
Well, this is very disappointing because it seems like we've got precious little chance of making our goal and getting out of St Kilda.
On saying that, Jeremy, about obviously having very little chance to go out to St Kilda, as we've talked about, the weather is so changeable. I think the most important thing, as I've said, is that when it does come through, we're on standby to drop everything else we're doing and get out there.
While Derek and Jeremy wait for calmer weather in the hopes of making good their plan to visit St Kilda, there is nothing to do but relax with their guests, Prue and Andrew Rawlings.
The wind is coming from the southeast.
South-southeast, yeah.
South-southeast there, so unfortunately we will be running into the wind and into the weather.
Yeah.
What force is the wind at the moment?
It's 5 to 7, but I don't think it's that strong at the moment, to be honest.
So we're there, not Maddie, and we're going to get down to all the way to Barrow.
Like I say, if it's horrible out there, we'll try and just obviously make Skipper, which is an hour and a half.
Fine.
Which will make us a little bit further south.
Yes.
And then, okay, we'll be there, and then it should go northwest, and then we can make our way down to Barra and all the islands. Yeah. But if it's not too bad out there, and you're happy enough to keep going, then we'll keep going if that's what you want to do.
Then we keep St Kilda on hold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, can we get that?
Well, we're going to chance it, see what it's like out there.
Okay.
They head south to Barrow, hoping that the weather doesn't stop them in their tracks yet again. These are some of the roughest seas that they have encountered on their entire journey. In the end, they opt for safe harbour at Loch Boisdale, just short of Barrow. Dimmy and Chops spot a fishing boat and rendezvous in the Rib to see what they can buy or scrounge for dinner. After some keen negotiations, a deal is struck.
What did you guys get? Wow, what is that? Have a look. Have a look.
Wow, look at that.
Wow. They gave us a very interesting looking crabs. We never seen crabs like that. They say the Spanish are buying them. They're crazy about them and deep fry them. Not those on the top. They're underneath. Very interesting looking ones.
Did they say what name?
What did they say the name was?
Velvet crabs.
Velvet crabs.
Yeah, I've read about them. Look at that, all of that for 100 quid. Lobsters and velvet crabs, ordinary crabs and langoustine.
And they put one of the
100 quid for the lot.
He was showing us what to do, not the crabs, not to pinch your fingers or anything like that. And then with the knife, they just flick here.
Cut the muscle.
Yeah, so it can close.
Poor darling, I mean, it's not fair. Let's bring them on board and we'll line them up on the deck.
This alone makes it worth coming to the northwest of Scotland. Northwest of Scotland. They are quite beautiful, aren't they? Look at these. Where are the velvet crabs?
They are underneath the big buckets. He says that the Spanish are buying them and deep frying them. Really?
Well, we'll try.
Well, deep frying is like that.
What in the shell?
They do in a big bowl of olive oil. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Ta-da! No, that crab's going to eat me.
And we might have the langoustine as a salad with mayonnaise for lunch tomorrow. Yeah. And the lobster in the evening.
They don't
Not too much seafood.
Doesn't matter.
So what are these? Crab cakes.
Crab cakes.
Fish cakes.
Crab cakes.
A couple of those. We'll try a couple of those. See how they fare.
Thank you very much. We're having some freshly made crab cakes.
Right. How did you find inside the crabs when you broke them apart? Was there a lot of flesh in them, or how was
Inside
they
the
were huge, weren't they?
They were very big crabs inside the actual shell of the crab. There was literally a tablespoon of meat in each one of them.
But you said there was plenty of flesh in the claws.
in the claws. Yeah, the claws.
These taste beautifully fresh, absolutely lovely, very nice. Beautiful crab, straight from the sea.
Well, you think it's good?
I do think it's good. It's lovely.
Excellent.
With still no hope of making the crossing to St Kilda, Killarney continues south to the Isle of Vatersay.
It doesn't like, you'd think the thing would open like a regular flower, but actually it just pops out the top.
While numbers on the mainland inexplicably plummet, starlings here thrive. Spring must be in the air, for suddenly Derek decides to throw caution to the wind and removes all of his clothes.
What mad sort of person did I marry? Look at him running naked along the beach, and it's freezing. Go into the sea!
The following day finds them north of Vatersay, at Castle Bay on the Isle of Barra, a perfect circular sheltered anchorage. They anchor in the bay near to Kissamall Castle. This medieval castle fell into disuse during the 19th century, but has been impressively restored since.
Look, that's good. Now you get all the turrets and all, Jeremy. See all the turrets and all.
Yeah.
This is the side of it that looks good.
The castle is now in the hands of historic Scotland.
It's amazing, isn't it, sitting here in this little sheltered nook with no wind, that out at sea it's still very blowy and very, very cold. And the problem of getting St Kilda is not only do you not want it too rough when you get there, but the wind's got to be coming out of the right sector, so there's shelter in the only anchorage, which is Village Bay. Sufficient for us to be able to launch the tender. Otherwise we could get out there and not be able to get ashore, which would be a real shame.
Later,
You just start doing so when I want to drop it.
We'll do that.
under threat of yet another storm, Captain Tim takes preventative measures to protect Killarney.
Yeah. Well, we've got severe gale force 9 forecast, and I was on the western side of the bay and it's coming out of the northeast, so I want to get to the northeast corner of the bay so that we'll be more protected from any sea build-up, and also give me time if we do drag, with a lot of space behind me.
Tim is the one responsible for both the ship and those aboard, a duty he takes very seriously. With a strong wind blowing and in the dark of the night, Tim has to manoeuvre Killarney around to a new anchorage. He carefully moves them through the black waters, knowing that one wrong move could have disastrous consequences.
Okay, you can prove it. Yeah. How much? 70. Pretty good. That I feel better about. Didn't have lights on, fancy lights and stuff on.
With the move completed safely, Tim checks his new position to be sure that Killarney is where she needs to be.
The mark on the screen, the red line, and when you zoom in, you can see, and if your red line starts moving away from where your arc that you've been swinging to your anchor for the amount of time, you can see, because the track will start moving away from it. Because I only had 0.06 of a nautical mile behind me, which basically equates to about 100 meters behind the boat. And if you dragged in that kind of weather and you were trying to get the chain up, you'd be on the land before you knew it. So this way we've got half a mile behind us.
Well,
So-
how did you just like
Yes, I think I'll feel a bit better about it.
With the new day, Derek and Jeremy's worst fears are realised. The weather is worse, and the dream of making it to the distant Isles of St Kilda seems farther away than ever. Even within the protected harbour, the wind whips the water into spumes of spindrift.
God, it's still blowing a gale, isn't it?
It certainly is.
What's the wind speed?
Well, this is actually telling a bit of a few lies because it's picking up turbulence from the mast, so it's not telling you what the true wind speed is. But I've had 50 knot gusts.
What's force 9?
Force 9 is 48 knots in. 48 knots is the top end of a force 9. So we've had gusts of storm 10. I don't know much about the weather up here because I haven't sailed and too much sailing up here, but I don't know how long this kind of thing would stay in. What we need is a high pressure. We need a high pressure that is stable. What we've got at the moment It's unstable, lows flying through all over the place. So even to go to St Kilda, we need a nice, stable, high pressure. The weather is no significant change. The weather is going to stay a certain way for at least 48 hours.
That's looking highly unlikely.
It's part of the reality of this kind of an adventure, isn't it?
Of course.
That, you know, and I think it's one of the big turns on about this trip, is that we are completely at the mercy, what was the word you used, at the mercy of Neptune, or at the mercy of the weather.
Yeah, our fate is in the hands of Neptune.
Yeah, and it's fine, because it's not like we failed to do something. You know, we just...
Exactly, that's what
It's all to do with the timing, and
Well, the other thing that
it doesn't
concerns
invalidate
me,
it.
Derek, is that we've got 60 miles to cross to Malé from here across the Minch.
Yeah,
Well, we can't do that in this weather.
No, we can't.
Let's stay excited about St
Precisely.
Kilda, because we are excited. We really want it to happen, but we're realistic, and we've made some good decisions.
Yeah.
And maybe you could
Yeah,
put some
forever.
offering to King Neptune or whatever. I don't know what King Neptune likes to
sacrifice
eat.
chopper.
Exactly, chopper. Chopper to King Neptune.
What he likes is a virgin mermaid.
That
But
was
those are
something,
rather
exactly.
short
I
supply.
think quite a few of us wouldn't mind one of those, actually, Jeremy.
We were in our little 35-footer in Lyme Bay, and you know our problem was not the sea, but we'd bought a cheap boat basically, and for and in very, very bumpy seas. What's it called off Portland Bill when you get
The race.
The
in
races.
the race? Yeah, we've gone across the race and we've done a lot of slamming, boom, 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 on this basically cheaply made 35-footer with a full fuel of
Plastic motor.
yeah.
Motorboat.
And we got halfway across Lyme Bay, out of sight of land, glistening, beautiful day, big rolling sea. But because there was a cheap boat, what had happened is the boat had basically split down its length. And all the fuel had poured out of it. The engine stopped. We looked in the engine room, and the little compartment where the engine is, that was filling up with water. We went down into the saloon, the only room below decks, that was filling up with water.
The floorboards were floating.
That must have been.
It was very
Horrendous.
frightening,
And night was coming on and
Yeah.
the wind was getting up.
That's horrendous.
I mean, because we'd called on the radio, people were coming for salvage, so we knew there were a few boats coming.
Right.
And then the first thing that came was the helicopter came. It was a Royal Navy helicopter, and they just took us off the boat.
Which
So a big loop came
How was
down.
that?
Well, it was pretty cool, and actually there was not that it would interest you, but there was this completely gorgeous kind of sailor at the top of the rope. So he pulled us into the helicopter. There was this like a donut who was there. So it was like instant love at first sight.
Next time on Chasing Spring, Derek and Jeremy spot their first Scottish shark.
But they only do really come into these waters in June, when the water gets warmer. And no one really knows where they go in the winter.
We were hoping, subject to talking to you, to make a decision about if to come out the 7 hours.
24-hour forecast.
And everyone keeps their fingers crossed for the trip to St Kilda.
4 or 5. Becoming variable, force 3.
I think we should have a look around this corner, see what it's like out into the Atlantic.
This is an achievement to get out in these seas to this tiny little island. It's making Tim quite nervous.
It is.
And he's the captain of this boat.
But it's my job to be on edge.
You're 100% in command, as you know.
Though Captain Tim is wary of the stormy North Atlantic, prone as it is to sudden change. This is their last chance. But will the weather hold, or will the rough seas prove too much for Killarney?